casual sex, hookups, no strings attached. There's a lot of different words that you can use to describe a consensual meeting between two adults that really just want one thing. In this video, I'm going to be going over a personal story of mine that I wrote in my newsletter about one of those experiences. My name is Tristan Social, and if you haven't been exposed to my videos before, welcome. I like cold approach, I like casual encounters, and I like to have sex myself. So if you're one of those people that likes to have sex, wants to learn how to have sex, wants to learn about overcoming their fear of rejection and just being somebody that can express themselves to the opposite sex, hey, maybe you should consider giving this page a follow. You should have came inside of me, she said softly as I looked at the art that I left on her backside. And I gotta say, guys, definitely wear condoms, especially with people that you're just meeting. But at times it does happen where the connection is so strong and you feel such a strong pull towards another human being that you just run into their guns blazing like Rambo. But for best practices, definitely wrap up. I do not recommend anything but that in the top recommendations of safety. But if you come to the time where just do it. Just wrap up. She said softly as I looked at the art that I left on her backside. I always viewed semen on skin as a unique form of art. No one was quite like the other. It's kind of like snowflakes. And realistically, a man and a stream are never the same because the man is never the same and the stream is never the same. So a man never walked into the same stream. And when it comes to leaving art on backsides or on skin, I think it's just such a beautiful culmination of life. Like that is literally life right there. That strong passion. I've thought about this for years. Like back in the Tumblr days, I thought it was just like such a beautiful thing to see what is literally a snowflake in the cosmos of the universe. Even with the same partner, you have different variations of where it goes and how it lands, which is very true. But this is not the case with her. This is not the same partner. A member of law enforcement in a European country, an absolute bombshell to say the least. She was bad. Now I'm like reliving this and I have a video of us meeting. I'm never going to post it. It's too good. It is such an amazing video, but it's going to be one of those that I keep to the crypt. It doesn't matter. It's not hitting the internet. If you come to like maybe a mastermind or a boot camp or in-person event, maybe you'll see it, but it's such just a masterpiece of art. You got to get in the inner circle to ever even get a chance of seeing it. If you've ever been able to enjoy the presence of a Turkish woman, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Bad. Turkish Johns are bad. And if you hear me say John is Jawn, it's referring to a beautiful woman. The Mexican sun had turned her skin to the kind of golden brown that can only come from weeks of enjoyment, as she had been here for 4 weeks and was on the last stretch of her trip, heading back to the cold of Germany in just another 4 days. I had stopped her on her way out of the beach, using the last battery percentage of my Ray-Ban metal glasses to capture the approach to her. Like I said, it's a beautiful capture, but we're never going to be sharing this, guys. It's the internet is never going to see this. It was a more so regular approach, one that I will probably never release on social media, told you. Due to the fact that the sex was so good and so pure, I didn't want her to feel betrayed by someone that she had opened her womb to. It's important that if you ever do videos like mine, guys, you got to get permission either before or after. Consent is absolute key. Consent is key across the board. Please just make that a thing. A type of approach I'd only show to the members of the social club as be trusted to join the society. There's no even promises at that point, guys. In the middle of the approach, a seagull flying overhead landed a perfectly placed piece of caca, I'm not going to cuss because of demonetization, on the middle lining of her bikini right between her near perfect breasts. She was bad. She was from Turkey, living in Germany, had been on the beach for 4 weeks, and I remember she was super sad because she was leaving. I could feel that energy on her, and I completely took her in my arms, and we'll get to that part. In game, you have to make the most of any situation, even a shitty one. I had no plans or intentions of going to the water that day, but when opportunity calls, you have the choice to answer or not. I decided to pick up the phone mid-conversation and exclaim, a bird just pooped on you, and go on and tell her that we had to go into the water right now and wash it off. I think one of the big things that I love about game is, first and foremost, no approach is the exact same. Each person is different. You're a different person after every approach. There's so many different variables that go into it, and so many split in the moment decisions have to be made that it's beautiful. I used to knock doors and sell solar panels, and no door is exactly the same. No home is exactly the same. You never know what's on the other side of that door. You never know how receptive a person is going to be, so it's on you to push the pace as the cap doer every single time. She was having a rough day. I could tell, and that bird poop was the icing on top of the cake. I took the lead, grabbed her hand, and walked her to the edge of the water, saying everything is just fine. Let's get in and wash it off. As a man, a lot of times your woman is going to express emotion, and it's not your job to react to it, but it's your job to receive it. And a lot of times girls will give you just complaints, or they'll cry about stuff, and they want to go ahead and just express out. They're not looking for a logical response. They're not looking for a logical answer. They just want to express how they're feeling, and it's your job as a man in a lot of situations just to take it and say, hey, this is what's happening. It's okay. That's fine. We'll be all right. She struggled to take her shorts off as her absolutely gorgeous bottom had grown in size over the month of her being there, a common occurrence to the change of European to Mexican cuisine. Mexican food is super fatty. It plumps you up. After sliding off her shorts that were sitting on top of her bathing suit, we ran into the water as she exclaimed disgustingly that she couldn't touch where the bird pooped on her. Especially in game and in life in general as a man, you're going to have to get your hands dirty a lot of times, and you just have to be okay with it. I like to do the analogy like if women are like snakes, the first time that you grab one up, you're going to be extremely scared to do it. But then after a couple of grabs, you're going to be able to grab it, hold it, touch it, and see the beauty inside of it. A lot of times the snake is more scared of you than you are of it, because the likelihood of the snake killing you is so much lower than the reverse. And that's so true, and especially as men, especially when you start working out and getting your physical activities right and your physical strength up, you're going to realize that women are so much more scared of us than we are of them, because of the physical fact that we can, unalive them. Now, if you know me, you know I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty in order to feel the touch of my fingers on a gorgeous body such as hers. So I splashed some water on her breast and rubbed off where the bird had pooped. Sometimes you got to get your hand dirty to touch the prize. After a couple of minutes of talking, as we were pretty deep in the water and the waves this day rose to overtake us as the wind was blowing considerably, I could tell she was dreading going back to Germany. What I find a common occurrence of women in masculine roles, be it an entrepreneur, a cop, or sometimes even a nurse, is that their feminine energy literally cries to be released, and this is what's happening now. She didn't want to go back to Germany, to the cold, where she had been the masculine figure in a role that she dreaded. What I love about women that are in masculine roles, such as entrepreneurs, such as cops, such as things where they have to be strong and they have to tell people no and they have to set hard boundaries, is that they want boundaries set for them and they just want to be inside of a man's frame. We're going to be doing videos about how to set a strong frame and have her fall into that frame. And I love it because I've created such a strong frame for myself that I allow other people to come inside of it and pause. And I love the fact that I've built a boat that other people can sit in when it comes to setting boundaries physically, when it comes to setting boundaries emotionally, spiritually. I have a lot of practices that I have worked on over years, which you, as a young man, if you're watching this and you're a young man, are going to have to come to at one point in time. She wanted to be a big-bootied, perfect-tittied, having Turkish princess that baked brownies and cookies and cleaned the house for a masculine man. A common occurrence I find in female entrepreneurs, but all the majority, get into the space, start making money, and find that they absolutely hate the masculine energy required to make constant decisions that have real-world outcomes. It's very rare that I come across, in my personal experience, I'm not saying this is a generalization, but it's very rare that I come across female entrepreneurs that have been in the game for over a year that absolutely love it. A lot of times they just want somebody to not necessarily provide for them, but be that provider for them. They love a man that can take care of them, but not because they need to be taken care of, but because they want to be taken care of. It's when it comes to business, it's so much more of a man's game, and I salute every woman that comes into business and is able to excel at that, because it's such a masculine energy-driven sport. It's a game. Business is an absolute game. I could tell the stress of the coming days was weighing on her, so I scooped her up in my arms and caressed her newlywed style as the waves carried most of her weight. And I remember this moment so vividly. She was just melting in my arms, because as a cop, as an entrepreneur, as a decision maker, you harden your heart. And when somebody comes along and is strong and can just hold you and carry you and says, hey, it's okay, you don't have to worry about these things anymore, They just melt. She was a little tense at first, but after a moment, submitted to the ocean and my arms and started crying into my chest. A beautiful thing when you know energy, you can read it on people and subsequently heal it with minimal actions. I want us all as men to get more in touch with reading emotions and understanding emotions and seeing your own emotions. You don't have to respond or react to your emotions. That's a part of stoicism. But it's so important to not block out your emotions. Don't block them out, but observe them. And we'll go into more on that in future videos. I work well with these types of women because I know how to look past their words, feel their energy, and she just wanted to be held and not think for a moment. After some time holding her, I say, come on, and lead her out of the water, where we gather our things and headed towards the entrance of the beach. You, as a man, it's your job to lead interactions and to lead transitions as well. You're never going to be able to smoothly hook up with a girl if you don't know how to lead and transition. One important thing in the game is to know when to transition. Like I'm good. Look at this. I'm thinking out loud when I already wrote it down. And how to do it with confidence. It has to be a good idea to you internally for them to think it's a good idea as well. That's one of the biggest things of game. If you think that it's a terrible idea to go to your house because you know it's dirty, you haven't cleaned up in a while, there's dishes in the sink, you don't feel confident. If you internally feel not confident in the decision, that energy gets transferred over to women. And women are so good at trusting their intuition and seeing if a guy is a POS or a trustworthy guy because they're in touch with their emotions. If you block out your emotions and then try and do something that is not in accordance with your emotions, then it's just going to be a non sequitur, and it's going to be a 4% success rate, as it should be. You're doing something that you don't think is a good idea, and they're reading it's not a good idea, and then you're trying to convince them it's a good idea, and it's like a car salesman that knows that the car is a lemon, and they're trying to sell it. It doesn't work out. And one of the most important sales of game is to sell yourself on yourself and your worthiness of having sex with a beautiful stranger when the time comes. There are so many micro decisions that need to be made to successfully pull it off. And if you don't believe you're worthy, you can make 98% of the right moves and self-sabotage yourself at the end. This is the art of fumbling. If you've ever been a guy that has had a beautiful girl and you think to yourself, "Oh, I don't deserve her. I don't think that I'm worthy of having her." You are going to find yourself without her because the universe is one of equilibrium. If you think these thoughts of, dang, she's way better than I am, it's going to come where she realizes it too, or some events happen and take place that confirm what it is that you're thinking. We walked to a local coffee shop where I asked her what she liked to drink. A black coffee, she responded, which is very on par for the German in her. I ordered the drinks and sat down and talked to her about energy and how she would just release to a strong man, how she should release to a strong man and submit to leave the stress that was inside of her soul, a foreshadowing of the future. One big thing is submission. Women love to submit to a man that deserves to be submitted to. That's why physical activity is very important. That's why women love tattoos, because it resembles scars or war or a man that has been through trauma and stress. This is why I preach martial arts. If you can't feel safe expressing yourself with the fear of physical retaliation, you can't really express yourself at all. I told her there was an exercise that I want to show her, and it involved a pen and a piece of paper. Leading and transitioning, once again, boys. We finished our coffee and transitioned on a 10-minute walk back to my apartment in the center of town. I highlighted many of the monuments to see this part of Mexico, half making things up as we went to keep her mind inside of imagination mode instead of switching to the logical, where if she had been given a chance, she might have reconsidered everything and headed home. One really big thing when it comes to hooking up, transitioning, leading, is this art of whimsicalness. You have to keep the movie alive. Like when you watch a movie and if it's clunky and the director doesn't know the direction that they're going in and it doesn't make sense, the movie is lost and you don't even watch the movie, and then you go home and you leave the theater. But when you're watching Leonardo DiCaprio and you don't even realize that they're an actor and these things just move so specifically and so fluidly and you don't even realize that you're watching a movie, it's the same exact concept when it comes to making a seamless transition from wherever you're at to your house. Some people call it sleazy, some people call it art. I'm not here to judge, it's just the fact of the matter here. And one big thing that you're going to hear me repeat time and time again in my videos is this is not science, this is art. There's 5 different ways to get her back to the house. There's 10 different ways to get back to the house. There's 100 different ways, but there's no scientific formula, do this, do this, do this, do this, because every human being is different. That's the art of artistry here. We landed back at my apartment, an old folks home sort of here in Mexico where the average age is 65 and the average breakfast of choice is cigarettes and coffee. I love this spot. I love living next to old people because it's such a calm energy. The regular crew whose patio faces the entrance were gathered around and welcomed her to the community, knowing what type of time I was on. She felt comfortable and we proceeded to head over to my apartment. I really wanted to emphasize the portion of the story where I said you need to sell yourself on yourself. There were so many opportunities up to this point where I could have messed up, self-sabotaged, but at one point in your journey, you're going to learn the importance of self-talk and power of will. You have to make 100 different decisions every single day. You have to make 100 different decisions when you're taking, like even talking to a girl, what to say, what to drink, where to move, what actions to take. If you're not sold on yourself and you're sold on the idea of yourself to yourself, they're not going to be sold on it either, and something's going to fall through the cracks. We made it back to my apartment where I gave her a pen and a page in my notebook and had her work on exercise I made up in the time of walking back to my place from the coffee shop. A lot of this shit is made up, guys. Sometimes you're going to have what's called sets where you have activities that you go through and, lead to an end result. That's a sales process. That's a set. That's, a movie. And then sometimes you just make it up as you go. But you can't make it up as you go until you have like some sort of structure or frame or something that you like that is conducive to your play style. Once again, this is art, not science. Keep in mind, it was a good exercise actually made specifically to help her with her overthinking. It's more than just seducing women. It's providing actual value to them so they feel comfortable submitting to your frame. Big difference. I listen to a lot of these red pill guys and they talk about manipulation and what to do with women and this and that. It's like, do you even actually like women? Do they gain anything from hanging out with you? When I hung out with this gorgeous girl, I gave a lot to her. I gave a lot of my energy. I gave a lot of my insights, a lot of the books that I read and quotes from Stoicism, and like allowed her to be a woman inside of my arms, which she really appreciated. I took a shower while I left her to the exercise, using the time to clean my room and prepare myself for what was to come. An example, brush my teeth, put on cologne, XYZ. A good rule of thumb is to keep your home as if you're always expecting a woman to randomly come back to visit you, and more often than not, you'll find it to be true. Nothing worse coming home with a beautiful girl to a shabby spot. I've lost out, and I'm going to tell a story about this. I've lost out on an amazing hookup opportunity because my room smelled too bad because they're my roommate at the time in the college dorms, and I'll never forget that. I slipped behind her as she was writing, startling her a bit as I wrapped my arms around her. I tell her to stand up and face me, where I throw her arms over my shoulders and continue to passionately kiss her. I'm not the biggest fan of cigarette mouths as I don't smoke at all, and they can really kill a girl's beauty. Luckily for her, she had more than enough beauty to spare, where it didn't completely derail it for me. Yeah, don't smoke cigarettes, guys. Vaping is terrible too. Don't even get into that. It's nicotine or anything that's like a daily habit like that. You don't need that. You're better than that. If you're watching this video right now, you're better than that. You don't need that. I guided her hands to places I want them to be. She was receptive, and we found our way to the bedroom. Wow, I don't even remember that part. One big thing when it comes to making out, it's hand guiding. And I mean, I remember when I was a younger teenager, 16, 17, 18, there's a lot of opportunities that I missed out on because I didn't know what to do with my hands. As the man, like I said, leading and transitioning, things that you're going to have to be learning if you're going to be successful in the art of having more sex is leading the hands where they want them to be. And 8 times out of 10, especially if she's making out with you, she's going to be receptive of it. And she's waiting for you to do that because 1, she might not know how to make that transition herself. 2, she's afraid to do it because you're the man and you're supposed to be leading and transitioning. The sex was hot as could be. I had a picture in my mind of how it would go, an important part of game, visualization of a desired outcome, and it was better than I expected. Yeah, one big thing, guys, that I like to keep as a North Star is the image or the idea of what I want to happen throughout the course of the night. And then the mind is such a powerful navigator of GPS that it will take me there if I have a clear vision of what it is that I want to accomplish throughout the night, or just anything in life. It's not limited to game. It's not even limited to business or sports or anything of the nature. You can visualize a desired outcome, and it will come true if you think of it clearly with a plan of action. She wrapped her legs around my back MMA style and was as feminine as could be, clawing my back and holding on to me tightly, a very active partner in a two-person game. Active participant in a two-person game. I love it when the other person is alive and active and really just giving back to the dance. I've been with a few girls where they're absolutely gorgeous and they just don't play back. They just take the pleasure and they don't reciprocate it. It's like, starfish. We switched positions to her on top, where she looked passionately in my eyes. I love eye contact and good sex. It ignites my soul more than my body, and can't get. It ignites my soul more than my body, and I can't get enough of it. I love good eye contact during sex. For about 45 minutes, we go at it, loving every second of it. I tell her to lay on her stomach, where we end up at the beginning of the story. I stress the use of condoms extensively to my students in social club, but sometimes you have to do as I say and not as I do. As we lay there in ecstasy, a few minutes go by before she says she has to catch a bus to Tulum to go to the last day of Zamna. A story I'm not mad about at all, as I have to go have my regular girl come over as soon as we have a date planned that night. I walk her out. It's important to keep a main girl. I love having a main girl. We'll make a story about how I have multiple partners and they're all okay with me having multiple partners. You have to provide enough value. You can't provide little value and expect a girl to be okay with you dating other women. But if you provide a lot of value, then they don't have a problem with it. I walk her out. She's borrowing some of my shorts that she promises to return later, and I plan on making her keep that promise. I kiss her goodbye as we walk off into the waning sun in the sky, sunset shortly approaching. This isn't the first time something like this has happened, where I get a girl and take her home in the first hour of meeting her, and it definitely won't be the last. And I'm happy to say each time is as enjoyable as it can be. Something about the mystique and the intrigue of meeting and mating a gorgeous girl all in the same swing ignites my soul, and I hope it does the same for yours. Tristan Social. What a beautiful life we live. If you want to sign up for my newsletter, I'm going to put the link at the bottom of this video. If you want to learn how to do stuff like this, you want to come out to a boot camp, or you want to, talk to me one-on-one, send me a DM with the word boot camp, and I'll get you guys over there. Take this time to think about what you want out of life. Think about what you want to visualize. Think about the man that you want to become, and create a plan on acquiring that. And then wake up earlier than you are right now. Do more workouts than you are right now. Do more reflection than you are right now. And work that plan until the plan works you. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more.